This is Caroline.
This is Maritess.
And this is Laura. Welcome to Med Surg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
This podcast is an engaging look at the lives of and surrounding medical surgical nurses.
We're proud medical surgical nurses, just like you, sharing our stories, insights, and experiences to support you in your nursing journey. We welcome you to this episode of Med Surg Moments. Our topic is how to find joy in nursing. But before we get started, let's see what's new with everyone. Laura, why don't you start?
Things are going great for me. I am trying to keep the wonderful spirit of this new year and trying to make this a good year, trying to make some good decisions, trying to make some good goals for myself, both personally and professionally. Things are just going great. I'm really excited. Caroline, anything up with you?
Well, very similar, really. Embracing the new year. The month of January seems to be 365 days long sometimes, but we're making it through.
Very true.
It's definitely a month where I reflect and make plans and be optimistic as we move forward and wonder what lies ahead of us for sure. So just getting back in the groove and working hard. Maritess, what's going on with you?
Culturally, I practice 2 New Years. So I know we did New Year January 1st, and we also have our Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year. So part of my heritage, culture, and tradition is to celebrate Chinese New Year. So definitely new things, new goals. Everything is new, and we need to start with happiness and positivity.
And you get to party twice, right?
Yes.
What's up with that?
Fireworks. I'm telling you, we love fireworks. So we get to do 2 fireworks show all the time. My husband loves doing it. So we do
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
Sounds so fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why don't we move on to our topic? We're talking about great things, joy and happiness. And definitely our topic is talking about joy. And this is the topic that I suggested, how to find joy in nursing. And I thought I'd share a little background why I chose this topic. I am a nurse, and I owe it because of my experiences. I owe it because of the nurses who have come before me, my mentors, my colleagues. I mentioned before, I've been a nurse for 18, going 19 this year. Still a short time compared to the many nurses that we have in our profession. And I've seen the change. I've seen how we are burned out. I see it firsthand. I see how we work so hard and we experience compassion fatigue. We just take in what our patient is experiencing, what the unit is experiencing. And at the end of the day, we're exhausted. The nursing shortage is such a huge problem right now. And I think it's not just in our hospitals. I think it's everywhere. And so each morning, I always tell myself, what am I grateful for? What joy can I find today? And I think this is something that we can share to our nursing colleagues on how to fight the nursing shortage, how to fight burnout. I'm very interested to hear, how do you find joy in nursing? Carolyn, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's a great topic. I have a lot of thoughts. So you said you've been a nurse 18, 19 years. You're definitely an expert in your field. I got a few more years on you. And I was reminded last year in 2022, that was 40 years ago when I started my nurse training.
Wow.
40 years. And you say that and you think, where the heck did 40 years go? And why am I still doing what I'm doing? And the bottom line is, one, I still believe wholeheartedly that there's no greater profession than nursing. And I still get a kick out of what I do every day I go to work. Now, I'm not happiness and sunshine every day of the week. Don't get me wrong here. But I've refocused over the years to concentrate my energy on new nurses and sharing all of my experiences and my stories over the years with them. Because for me, I don't know if I would say I burnt out at some point, but I guess everything just got a little mundane. What I am seeing nowadays is this is happening way too quickly. I just had a nurse 3 months into her nurse residency program, just quit, just up and quit. She said, I made a terrible mistake. I'm overwhelmed. I can't cope. What have I done? I've wasted 4 years of college. And I said, you're not giving yourself enough time. And I tried to coach her, and we had what I thought was a good conversation. The next thing, I get this beautiful letter of resignation. So why or how do I find joy in nursing? For me personally now, I focus my energies on spreading optimism and happiness with our new nursing population, because someone's still going to be out there to take care of us, take care of me in the not too distant future. And that's where I get my joy, seeing new nurses become successful, and for those light bulb moments, and for them to say, you know what, you were right. You were right to tell me to wait. You were right to tell me to be patient with myself. Your experiences have kind of shone through, and now I'm glad I've stuck with it. If you look at it in its most purest form of what nursing is, it's about bringing some kind of joy and happiness to our patients and their families, despite what they are going through. And some of our patients go through an awful lot. And if we can just provide some optimism and encouragement, then that brings me joy as well, definitely, even to this day. And don't be impressed. You get yourself embedded into something for so long, it's like, what else would I do? But the bottom line is, I don't know what else I would want to do. That's another joy of nursing. You can change up, you can move areas, you can change clinical areas. I opted for education, and we've kind of deviated on that path for a minute, but there's an educator in me always. We had a patient just this morning, so you've started me off now, I'm sorry, but she fell and broke a bone. I work on an orthopedic floor, but she had seizure disorder. No one knew until we found her seizing 3 seizures in an hour. And I just kicked right in there. And we've got a brand new traveler who's new to the profession. She's just like, wow, you knew exactly what to do. I said, I should know exactly what to do. It's just like riding a bike, you know? So that's joy to me. That's joy to me.
I love when you shared about the new nurse that after 3 months, they're resigning. Makes you think, really, right?
3 months. I mean, please, you've got to give yourself at least a year, Anybody out there that might be feeling this way, please be patient with yourselves. And whether you have a mentor or you partner with a nurse, whether they've got 5 years experience or 105, give yourself time. It's hard out there right now. This is another big difference. Our patients are much more acutely ill than they ever were. We have to know so many different skills. And nursing school doesn't teach you all of that. You have to give yourself time to put all the classroom didactic stuff together and integrate it into the real world. And that's very hard to do in 3 months. So I hope that she comes back at some point and works through some things, but that doesn't bring me joy when we lose a nurse so young into the profession. So enough. Laura, what do you have to think about it all?
Oh, you gave me so much to think about. That's wonderful advice that you've given me. For me, one thing that brings me joy and something that I have said to newer nurses or even colleagues, number one, try not to forget the reason you became a nurse in the first place. Always keep that in the back of your head, because that driving force that got you through nursing school can get you through the tough times. Absolutely. If you remember, this is why I want to do it.
Excellent point.
I don't think there's any nurse that's out there that doesn't realize that it's going to be hard. Now, Med Surg nursing, it has its own challenges. I think we can all attest to that. There are a lot of people that cannot do it, that get out there and they just say, no, if this was my job, I wouldn't want to do it. It takes the heart. Med Surg nurses are very, very, very strong. The other piece of advice that I give people when I talk about finding joy is to latch on to those things that you like doing, those things that you are good at. I like taking care of those comfort care patients. I ask for them. there was one of those patients on the floor, I asked for them. Those are the things that brought me joy. If I like starting IVs, I'm going to tell everybody on the floor. Everybody's going to know that I like IVs. If you have an IV that you can't start, please come and get me. That feeling that you get when you hit a good IV that no one else can get, that gives you a little spark of joy. So latch onto those moments and be grateful for those at the end of your shift. But you've got to identify those. You can drown easily in this profession if you don't find the joy, if you don't find those little things that keep you moving. So that's what I would say. Those are my initial thoughts on finding joy.
I do love both what you said about Carolyn sharing her experience about making sure I know the whys, I know the new nurses, I'm helping them. And Laura, the small wins. I like that you mentioned, give it to me. I wanted to do that because that sparks joy. And sharing that to our audience right now, I think that's a challenge. That is one of our homeworks right now, right after listening to this podcast. Make a list. What are the things that really makes you happy at work? Yeah. Sometimes we think that it's the big accomplishments, right? Like passing your certification, your Med Surg certification, definitely will give you joy, but it doesn't happen every day. It's just a one-time happiness. But how do you sustain that happiness? I like when you said small wins. I want to do the IVs. I want to take care of comfort care patients. Try to find ways that you love to do. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
You sparked another thought, Maritess. You just said, how do you keep the spark going? I think you look at the profession of nursing and realize it can take you anywhere in any specialty in any part of the world. And so if you like to travel, become a travel nurse. If you like to be more of a homebody and focus on a distinct specialty, then do that. Sometimes surprise yourself by trying something that everyone keeps telling you you're good at, but you don't see that in yourself. And there's nothing more that makes me happy after I've been teaching and just one person out of a group comes to me and will say, you know what, I learned something today because of what you just said, or you got me thinking about this because of what you said. That's the kind of thing that helps keep me engaged year after year after year. And I think that life is most definitely too short to do something that you don't enjoy. And there's no excuse to not enjoy the profession of nursing because there are so many avenues out there. And when you feel like you're getting sucked into that minefield of negativity, step away and do something different. I cannot emphasize that enough to everyone. There's absolutely no reason to come into work and do nothing but complain because there are so many more options for you to serve your patients in the best way possible as well.
Absolutely. Recognize when you need that break. You need some time off. You need to go focus on the joy in the rest of your life. And if you can come back refreshed, you'll have a better mindset when you're on the floor. So
most
it's
definitely.
Not just joy in nursing, but it's just joy in life.
There are no prizes for having 1,000 hours in your PTO bank, in my opinion. It's always good to keep some on the back burner, but I have 1,000 hours of PTO. Well, good for you. And how do you feel? Oh, I guess I am tired. Take a vacation. One of my best friends is a realtor, and she said, I never knew what PTO was until I met you. I've never had a job where I get PTO. If I don't work, I don't get paid. You don't realize what a benefit this is. For someone in nursing, it's not, do I get PTO? It's how much do I get? We just take these things for granted. Use that beautiful benefit. Relax and recharge, and it doesn't have to be a grand vacation. It can just be time away from work.
Yes,
or a staycation, right?
Yes, absolutely. And don't feel bad about it either.
Oh, no. We're very good at being guilted into things. We're nurses, we're martyrs at heart, let's be honest. We absolutely have to practice our own self-care because more often than not, we're working in a stressful environment and it takes us a minute to kind of come down off of that ledge. If we've had a particularly taxing shift emotionally, we owe it to ourselves to move from that kind of panic alarm state into a sense of peace, however that comes, whether it's a vacation or whether it's just time away with a book or whether it's just shutting yourself away from everybody and don't talk to anyone. It's really important.
Or a conversation with someone that you can be vulnerable with, someone who can understand what you just had. Sometimes that's...
Absolutely.
I think with another one of our topics, we talked about how important it is to debrief after stressful things happens on the unit. But just in general, it's good to have a debrief with other nurses who understand what you're going through. And that can be over coffee or even a Zoom call, or, I know nurses tend to go out for drinks or things like that. But I mean, whatever it is for you that can unload some of that stress so you can talk about the bad things and the good things.
Exactly. Before we call this huddle or before we call this debriefing, what did you do after you had a code? And back in the day, we just used to sit and gather around and just talk things through. Call it what you will, but it's very, very important to disseminate situations, good and bad, so that you do come back down and are able to be calm and focused and then carry on, because you have to re-engage very quickly sometimes. It's almost shocking sometimes. After a code, I always look at the room and look at the disaster that the room is in and think, wow, what just happened? We just lost somebody we weren't expecting. But never mind, pull the trash, move on. You've got 4 more patients, And so we carry on.
That's a coping mechanism as well, to put it out of your mind and just get through the next few hours. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if you have to shut it off for a while. And if you notice somebody else that's having a bad day and they are all of a sudden just completely closed off and they are all business, that's a coping mechanism and they need time to get through it. But also recognize that they're going to need your hand at the end of their shift. Just say, hey, I know you're feeling something right now, but call me later if you need to talk. Give them an outlet.
I wanted to share something. In our facility. We have a code lavender, wherein, let's say you're having a bad situation and you want to have 5 minutes of your self-care time.
Oh,
so we have a code lavender. It's actually called overhead. And so we have a Zen room in one of our facilities, and they go to the Zen room. If they know how to meditate, they meditate. If they do not know how to meditate, there is a booklet there, just saying positive affirmations, saying that it is okay. You need to talk to someone. They can journal even. In one of the fundings that we wanted to do, we wanted to have a massage chair, but you know how that is, right? We wanted a massage chair because that would really help to say that I am in a stressful situation right now. I need to take care of myself. I cannot take care of other people if I'm not taking care of myself. And so we had that idea, and it was one of the projects that we had, because like I said, burnout is so much out there. And so how do we really find consistency and sustainability that nurses are still happy going to work and not calling out? At one point, we had like 70 people calling out in a hospital, and half of the staffing is travelers. How do you deal with that? So it's hard for the patients, hard for staff. It's just difficult. And so it kind of helped. But the fact that we need to recognize that we are stressed, we need help. And having that mindfulness also, I wanted to bring that up. Mindfulness techniques. We share that a lot with our new nurses. I think there's even a curriculum in nursing school about mindfulness. And I always say it's a concept, but you have to learn how to do it. You have to apply it. And once you practice it, that's how you will experience the benefits of it.
Yeah, and also recognize that mindfulness comes in different forms. I am not a meditator. I have tried. I really have tried. I've tried yoga. It's just, those are not the things that work for me. But the concepts of mindfulness that bring you down from that bad place that you're in down to a level where you're feeling more calm, that you're getting relaxed. There's different ways to do that. And all you have to do is kind of tap into the way that works best for you. So some people like to exercise. Some people like to read. Some people like to pet dogs and cats, feel grass under their feet. Whatever it is for you, it's important to identify it and seek it out.
Whatever really sparks joy in your daily life. And that's why it's so important to find that. There's no prescription.
And I think also sometimes it's not something that we have to perhaps consciously think about. if we're making a coworker feel better, intrinsically that will bring us inner happiness and inner peace. And it's not something that we consciously think about, but we go away feeling good about whatever that interaction was. And that definitely brings a sense of joy as well. There are probably people out there listening and saying, oh my goodness, you're detached from reality here. And like I said at the beginning, it's not about being happy, smiley all the time. But I think that if you're still doing something that you love, then the joy comes with it automatically. Are the days where you just want to sit around and complain about everything? Of course. But what does that do? It gets you nowhere. It's a very
it keeps you down
emotion.
in the dumps. Yeah. It keeps you in that state. Misery loves company. So if you sit there and complain and you bring other people to your pity party and then everybody is just complaining, there's no joy in that. There's no coming out of that. You just continue to commiserate together. But at some point, we've got to get out of that. We've got to give ourselves time to be sad, but then we figure out a way to get out of it.
Right. Statistically, what do they say? It only takes one negative person in a group of 10 to bring the other ones down with them. But if you've got one positive person, they're going to lift everybody up along the way. What do you both do to spark joy? What do you do to bring joy to yourself and others?
I'm constantly wanting to learn. I want to learn new things. I like reading books. I love doing crafts, and I don't do crafts because I'm good at crafts. I just like trying new crafts. I have a craft room up here. I was scrapbooking for a while. Just recently, I've started playing with watercolors. I am not very good, but I'm telling you, it is fun to sit in my craft room by myself with a YouTube video on and just playing with my watercolors. I could do it for 30 minutes or I could do it for 3 hours on a Saturday. Whenever I feel like it, I have it there for me to go and just play. It's not for anybody else. It's just for me.
There you go. I think that's great. I really do. And it should be just about you in that moment. Absolutely. Yes.
This is interesting, Caroline. I wanted to share a while ago. You said you're always smiling. What's wrong with always smiling? And I wanted to start with that. In the unit, they always tell me, Tess, why are you always smiling? Why are you always laughing? Why are you okay? Are you into something? And I said, I'm just smiling, making sure everybody's okay. And I ask, my tone is always high pitch. I can't do it on low tone. And so to answer the question of how do you find joy? I think it starts from you as a person. What are the things that I do to spark joy is I always have that positive attitude. And if I hear someone complaining, I always look at the other side. I always kind of turn it around and say, at least this is what happened, and I see it so effective because you're right. It only takes one person to bring everybody down. And if you're that kind of person, if you're that one person who can bring everybody up, it would really make a difference. I don't do arts. I'm not really artsy, but I do meditate a lot. And Laura, to share, sometimes meditation is really not something that you need to have a mantra or something. Sometimes it's just clearing your mind, not doing anything.
It's hard.
All.
It's hard for me. I've tried, and I recognize the benefits of it. I've got a friend that's hardcore that will meditate for hours on end, and I try to push myself for 15 minutes, and I can't do it. It's not for me. My mind doesn't shut down. My mind is constantly wanting to keep moving.
Agree. I have a friend who does that too. And she said, how do you just keep still, not do anything? I still wonder in my head, but you're right. It doesn't work for everybody. And you have to find what really works for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important that we all consider what that means for a moment, whether it's something as simple as playing with watercolors. It sounds quite delightful, Laura. I can't imagine what mess I would produce from that.
You need to teach us. Like I said, you're artsy.
I enjoy just messing around on YouTube. I'll find one person or story or headline. And then, of course, from that, it's like going down a rabbit hole because then you get this story and that story. And at the end of it, you think, I think I just learned something about someone that I didn't know. It might be completely useless information, but it really comes in useful when you're playing Jeopardy. When you know the
absolutely. And 2 hours have passed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing that's dangerous as well. They can be dangerous because that's exactly it. It's like, wow, why did 2 hours just go for sure? I can always get lost doing that.
I really want to bring up something quite critical with what's happening right now in our nursing profession. You hear stories about nurses having some struggles with their nursing career to some point that they do experience depression that may lead to suicide. So I want to ask our group here, how do we know, or are there ways that we can identify if one of our colleagues is experiencing such, and how can we help them? I think it's really very important that as a community, we are there to support each other. So I want to hear your thoughts about that.
I think it's very, very, very difficult sometimes, because I know that I think I've mentioned this on the podcast in the past, but I have a child that struggles with this, and I see her very, very regularly. And there's times where she's going through things that I have no idea, because they're so good at masking it. The best advice I can give is try to make sure that you are available, that you're making sure that everybody knows what resources are available, and talk to people. Just like we've talked here, we've talked about the things that we do that bring us joy. If you've got somebody that can identify that could be a red flag that maybe they don't have that kind of support in their life. They might be at risk. I think we're all at risk.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Laura. And I thank you for sharing that story about one of your own children. I think what we have to be very careful about is making sure we can differentiate between those that are apparently happy and joyful and the ones that are covering up something very dark. And I think reaching out with some open-ended dialogue. How was your day? Anything you want to chat over? Non-threatening, no one's accusing anyone of anything, but just to acknowledge that you sense that something is not quite right.
Yeah. If sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Just that one little tiny touch point could make all the difference. Sometimes.
Your point about being available, there used to be a time when my children were younger, and I'd say, no, I'm going to be in a meeting from 10 till 2 and then from 3 till 7. So don't you dare try and call me for anything. On reflection, if you need me, you interrupt me. I can step away from a meeting. Nothing is more important. And I've had to learn that lesson, sometimes a hard lesson along the way. There's nothing that you cannot catch up with. Some coworker will take notes for you. I think being available is a very, very important message to get out there, definitely. If we can't support our own, who can we support?
Another thing we have to recognize is that we're all going through this. I mean, nursing right now is probably as tough as it has ever been. We need to acknowledge that. So it's also important to encourage people to recognize that there are things like EAP, like the Employee Assistance Program. I am certain that probably every hospital system has a program like this, where sometimes you need some help, and you need help that maybe your immediate coworkers or your immediate family cannot provide. And there is no shame in asking about reaching out for some of those programs.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a very valid point, Laura. Like you said, most facilities offer something, whether it's just a web call or they have a walk-in clinic, but a lot of facilities are recognizing the importance of that now. So I would encourage everyone who's listening to this particular podcast to seek those resources out and don't be afraid or ashamed to use them. They're there for your benefit.
Leadership should be on top of that as well. Just recognizing that we're all struggling right now. And sometimes we all need someone to talk to.
I definitely agree. It takes one conversation. I can't believe it. Time is too short. We're out of time. But before we go, let's quickly summarize what we've learned. Start a daily gratitude practice, reflecting on things you are grateful for. Focus on your energies and spreading hope and optimism. With new nurses, enjoy watching them become successful. Nursing in itself is about bringing joy and comfort to our patients and their families. If you are a new nurse, give yourself some time. I have to say it slowly, at least a year, to integrate what you've learned in nursing school into the real world before you can make any big decisions about the future. Always remember,
you will be surprised at how strong you are after a year if you hang in there.
I love it, Laura. You're absolutely correct. You will open so many doors. Just hang in there. Always remember why you became a nurse in the first place. It will get you through the tough times. Latch on to those things you love doing and make sure everyone knows. Focus on even the small wins. Make a list of things that make you happy at work and reference often. Always remember, nursing can take you anywhere you want to go. Know when you need to take a break, whether it's during the day or paid time off. Have a conversation with someone you can be vulnerable with. Consider learning how to meditate, but also remember that mindfulness takes many different forms. And lastly, show support to a nurse who is clearly struggling. What a great conversation and a great session. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of Med Surg Moments, the AMSN podcast. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. Send us your questions, topic ideas, and feedback via our official Med Surg Moments email address, amsnpod@amsn.org. That's amsnpod@amsn.org.
I'd also like to remind you to become a member of AMSN or renew your membership at www.amsn.org. You receive lots of cool benefits and perks, such as discounted pricing on the annual convention and continuing education.
We encourage you to help us spread the word and subscribe to the Med Surg Moments podcast via your smartphone podcast app to receive notifications of future episodes. Please be sure to leave us a review and recommend Med Surg Moments wherever you get your podcasts to help us reach even more listeners.
I invite you to join the conversation by sharing your ideas and questions on AMSN's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter pages. And don't forget to add #MedSurgMoments to your post. Simply enter AMSN in the search field on any of these social media platforms to connect with us.
The content within the Med Surg Moments podcast represents the views, thoughts, and opinions of the co-hosts and may not necessarily reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Academy of Medical Surgical Nurses. Until next time, I'm Caroline.
Laura.
And this is Maritess. And always remember, Med Surg Moments is a moment in our lives, a moment in our Med Surg careers that makes a huge difference.